So I'm going to make a white loaf because I've just made 2 brown ones and I like to mix it up. So I'm going to do 2 loaves. So I'm going to do 800 grams of flour altogether. So a loaf is generally about 400 grams of flour, obviously. Nearly there. You have to be pretty precise. I mean, you can be out 5 grams here and there, but it's good to be as accurate as you can be with your weighing. Because that word I used yesterday, hydration, is quite important. And hydration is the percentage of water in relation to flour in your mix. If you have 100% hydration, that would be what the poolish is. And you can see that's really floppy. So that's equal amounts water to flour. You can't have a dough that's like that. It's just unmanageable. So hydration tends to be for a loaf between 60 and 80%. So for 800 grams of flour, 60% hydration would be 480 grams of water. Now I like that I like 60%, especially when I'm doing a poolish like this. And the poolish, just to clarify, when you have a sourdough starter, you don't just put the starter in with the bulk flour. The way I do it is create a sort of poolish. So you would, instead of using the half a teaspoon of yeast that I used last night to make this, I would do 100 grams of flour, 100 grams of water, and 100 grams of my starter. Mix it up, and then this is what happens. The starter is sort of ravenous, and it creates this in the morning. So it's the same thing really, but it has the sourdough flavour, if you like. And what's left in your jar after taking 100 grams out, you can just refeed again, so that the cycle continues, and you can make more bread whenever. And as I said, if you want to stop at some point, just put the lid on, shove it in the fridge, and it'll last for quite a long time. You can always tell an off starter because it will have an off taste, flavour. Don't taste it. And you will get that water rising to the surface, and you just discard that. It happens occasionally. It can just be that there are bad microbes that get in and just basically sour it. No, not sour it, because that's what it is, but make it go off. So, back to this. So now, water. And as I said, I tend to favour this sort of stuff. It's actually cheaper than the water in the house because we are metered. So 49p a bottle, and the bottle is actually recycled plastic as well. So I'm just going to reset the scales. So I want 480. Whoops. So lift it up to 480. Right, 480. Now, you want to mix this, and you want to mix in the poolish at the same time. I use a spatula, so you get all the poolish out of the bowl. I'll do it with one hand, so I'm going to have to jump cut. But basically, you want to get that all mixed together into what you could call a sort of shaggy mass. You're not kneading it. You don't have to knead it. You create this sort of shaggy mass. You put a cover on it. I use shower caps. They're reusable and they're really cheap. You cover it and leave it, and leave it for a couple of hours, and you get what's called a process called autolyse, where the flour absorbs as much of the water as it can. It really sort of bulks it up, and there's quite a transformation. So I'll just add the Pulish in. Right, pulish in. Now, the hydration thing I was talking about, so I had very accurately calculated 60% hydration by the weight of water to flour. And of course, I've just added the 100% hydration pulish. So what that does, and I worked this out with a little spreadsheet, it raises the total hydration by 3 or 4%. So you're ending up with about 63, 64% hydration. That's actually quite nice. It's all to do with manageability. A really wet dough is a nightmare to work with. A really stiff dough, so 50% hydration or less, which is like a brick basically. I mean, what you want is a situation where the process that creates the carbon dioxide, it has the flexibility. The dough is extensible enough to allow it to push and create those air bubbles. And the flip side of that is you want a dough which you can actually work with. So a really sticky dough is horrendous to work with, and also doesn't tend to hold its structure very well. So it's more likely to collapse. It literally can't hold itself up because it's too wet. So I'll mix this up, and you put the shower cap on and you leave it for a couple of hours. Okay. So that's all mixed together. Just make sure you get all the dry, powdery bits in the bottom of the bowl. You can get your hand in there and actually use the lump of dough to sort of scrape around the bowl. You want to get everything incorporated, and you want the pulish that you added, or the starter levain, which the same thing basically, but using the sourdough starter. You want that sort of fairly evenly distributed through the bulk flour water mix so that it can get to work. So, as I said, a shower cap on, or cling film, or tea towel. You don't want it to dry out on top. And we'll leave it for a couple of hours and then come back to it.